The Las Vegas Grand Prix is over, and the World Championship has been blown wide open as both McLaren cars were disqualified from the Las Vegas Grand Prix. But now F1 is heading to the penultimate round of the season, which is the Qatar Grand Prix, which means that once again it is time for my preview and predictions. This is a series where I'll be previewing and then at the end of the video giving out my early predictions for the Grand Prix. If you enjoyed the video, then please hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. But now, let's get into the video. As usual, I'll be talking about the top teams later on, so please do stick around for that. Yep, the Qatar Grand Prix is next, and it is the penultimate round of the 2025 Formula 1 World Championship. And we have a three-way fight for the Drivers' Championship as Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen are all within a shot of winning the World Championship, especially after both McLaren cars were disqualified from the Las Vegas Grand Prix. But Lando Norris still has a pretty sizable advantage. But with Max Verstappen now within one race of potentially taking the lead of the World Championship, anything can happen because, well, Max can never be counted out. In Brazil, there was a rumour that the FIA had found out about a couple of teams potentially having a way to reduce plank wear. Maybe McLaren were one of them. I think it's very unlikely, but it is possible. McLaren said that they had porpoising issues that was unexpected, which I think is a more likely reason why we saw both cars disqualified from the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Either way, F1 is now moving to Qatar, and it is a sprint weekend, meaning that the teams only have one practice session before sprint qualifying on Friday. Then on Saturday, it is the sprint race before Grand Prix qualifying, and the main race of course on Sunday. And the Grand Prix will be a guaranteed two-stop race, as Pirelli has once again created a rule limiting the amount of laps that each driver can do on a set of tyres. That limit is only 25 laps, which means that there must be two stops in the Grand Prix. The reason for this is similar to what we saw a couple of years ago, and that is Pirelli is worried about the structural integrity of the tyres due to the high-speed nature of the circuit and the curbs on the Losail track. For me, it's a little bit disappointing to see it again, but on the flip side, it does mean we will likely see the drivers push quite a lot harder, as they can use the tyres and will not have to manage anywhere near as much. As mentioned, Qatar is a high-speed circuit. It is more of a motorcycle track than a Formula 1 track, and that means that the F1 cars in general fly around this place, and there's not too much time spent on the brakes. With the long corners, the front tyres generally take an absolute beating. And in terms of downforce, I expect the teams to be running with higher levels of downforce, especially compared to what we just saw in Las Vegas. As I mentioned, the tyres take an absolute beating around this circuit, and the structural integrity is pushed to its limits. And because of that, Pirelli will be, as you would expect, bringing the hardest tyres in the range, meaning that the C1 is the hard tyre, the C2 is the medium tyre, and the C3 will be the soft tyre. Last year, it was pretty much a one-stop race, with the majority using one set of mediums and one set of hard tyres. With this year being a mandatory two-stop race, I anticipate that we will see a mixture of soft, medium and hard tyres being used, especially as we will likely see the teams run with a set of mediums during the sprint race, meaning that they will have one less set of mediums than what they would generally like. Overtaking at Qatar is pretty tricky, as there is really only one overtaking zone, and that is at turn 1. And you can see that as last year there was a total of just 29 on-track overtakes. To help with overtaking, the Losail circuit features just the one DRS zone, and that is down the pit straight. I don't think we will see too much overtaking outside of when people stop for fresh tyres, in all honesty. Last year, the pole position lap time was set by George Russell in the Mercedes, and George set a time of 1 minute 20.575. In the Grand Prix itself, the race fastest lap was set by Lando Norris in the McLaren, and Lando set a time of 1:22.575. With the mandatory two-stop race, I really do think that the race fastest lap will be beaten pretty easily. I try to say if you're enjoying the video so far, then I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe for more F1 content. And also please remember to check out Crash Happy. We've just launched a Patreon and your support will go a long way to helping us grow the channel. But now, let's get back to the video and let's talk about Ferrari. For Ferrari then, the recovery in the race was actually pretty good, and it was a rare good performance from them, as Lewis Hamilton goes from last to the points, and Charles Leclerc almost got to the podium after the two McLaren cars were disqualified. And honestly, it was an okay race, but now as the team heads to Qatar, I can see Ferrari having a bit more of a difficult race. The high-speed nature of the track and the changes of direction could cause some issues for them. The one thing though that could help them is there's not too many heavy braking zones, so there shouldn't be too much lift and coast, but I can see them having some difficulties with the balance of the car. Lewis Hamilton will be in general hoping for the season to just end after the tricky Las Vegas qualifying session, whereas teammate Charles Leclerc was second last year here, but given the balance of this year's car, honestly, I'll be amazed if he can repeat that feat, and I do think he may even struggle for a top 5 finish. For Red Bull then, the championship hopes are still alive for Max Verstappen after he won the Grand Prix and is now within one race of Lando Norris, meaning that if he does beat Lando in Qatar, then the World Championship will go to Abu Dhabi, and I can see Qatar being a pretty strong race for Verstappen. Last year in Qatar, it was the one race where he dominated after Red Bull had its main drop in performance, and I can see that being the case again here. If there is one circuit that I would say plays into Max's strengths, it is Losail. The circuit is high speed, it has high speed changes of direction, and it is front limited and all about commitment, which is right up Max Verstappen's alley. I think him becoming World Championship is still very, very unlikely, and he has a bit of a mountain to climb, and it's not really in his grasp. He needs Lando Norris to have an issue, but if there is one driver that can win the World Championship, it is Max Verstappen. For Mercedes then, the Las Vegas Grand Prix was a very good race from them, as it was technically a double podium result with Antonelli in P3 and George Russell was second, and for Mercedes, they were generally looking pretty strong, and they are heading to a track where they could be strong yet again, and this could play a factor in the championship fight between Verstappen and the McLaren drivers. Mercedes could literally be the reason why one of the top 3 gets eliminated from the championship fight. Kimi Antonelli had a great recovery drive after doing pretty much the entire race on the hard tyres. In Qatar, he will not be able to do this strategy again due to the forced multi-stop race, but I can still see him having a fairly decent race, and George Russell is probably going to have a good race because he's had quite a lot of them this season. And finally, for McLaren, it was a disaster in Las Vegas. Firstly, Lando Norris at the start of the race tried to outmax Max, and instead he ended up going off track, which you cannot afford to have happen again. But that was not the worst of things for McLaren. The worst was, of course, after the race, as both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri were disqualified from the Grand Prix due to plank wear. And now, Max Verstappen is within one race of becoming the championship leader. And if there's one driver you don't want to have within a race, it is Max Verstappen. Oscar Piastri is also still within one race of winning the championship, but honestly, I feel like he has accepted defeat in this championship battle, and he's kind of accepted that he's not going to be the world champion, especially based on his interviews in Las Vegas, where he just seemed a little bit resigned. He really needs a Norris DNF if he wants to still be in the fight. But Qatar could be a better race for Piastri. He had his first F1 win at this circuit, winning the sprint race in 2023. Qatar should be a strong track for McLaren, but as I mentioned earlier, I can see Red Bull and Verstappen being right there and potentially even faster. For Lando Norris, if he finishes in second place, he is still in a fantastic position to become the world champion. But I can imagine McLaren will be under a little bit more scrutiny and pressure after failing floor tests in Vegas. With a forced multi-stop race as well, McLaren will not be able to use their main advantage, which is tyre wear in the Grand Prix, as they are restricted on the number of laps that they can do on a set of tyres. So with that in mind then, what are my early predictions for the Qatar Grand Prix? Well, I think that the top midfield team and midfield driver, provided Aston Martin don't screw it up, will be Fernando Alonso. But what about pole position for the Qatar Grand Prix? Well, for pole, I'm going to go for Max Verstappen because I really think Verstappen is now all in on winning the 2025 championship. But what about the top 5 in the Grand Prix? Well, in P5, I'm going to go for Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes. P4 will be Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. And yes, that does mean I think he will be eliminated from the World Championship. In P3, I'm going to go for George Russell in the Mercedes. P2 will be Lando Norris. And I'm going to go for Max Verstappen to win the Qatar Grand Prix and take it down to a championship decider in Abu Dhabi. But those are my thoughts. The question is, what do you guys think will happen? In the comment section down below, please do let me know. And as always, comment, leave a like and subscribe for more F1 content. Thank you all so much for watching.